to avoid any complications. All right, so welcome to today's class. Today we are going to be learning about loops in Python. We are going to be learning about loops, and while using loops, the key part of loops we are going to be touching is the range, the for loop, and the while loop. That's basically what we are going to be covering today. So let's go straight to attacks. Hope my screen is visible enough. All right, thank you. Let's proceed. Now, when we talk about loops, what are loops? Now, loops in programming, whichever programming it is, loops allows you to iterate over a given sequence of steps. Take it plainly, like it allows you to repeat a particular step over and over and over and over again. That's what loop does. We see this infinity symbol. We are seeing this infinity symbol is a loop that runs continuously. People call it infinite loop. You repeat the process over and over again. Now, loops are used in Python to iterate. That's what we mean by iteration, to repeat or iterate a given step while a condition is met. Okay, to iterate a given step for some specific conditions that are specified and are met. Okay, now we can limit loops from running continuously. A loop that runs continuously is known as an infinite loop that runs without stopping. Okay, but we can limit it. All right, which brings us to the first part of the loop, range. Okay, we should learn about range. Now, when it comes to range, range is used to generate a sequence of numbers. A sequence of numbers. That's a beginning and an end. It has a method described as start, stop, and step. It has a method described as start, the beginning, stop, the ending, and the step. Step simply means the positions or jumps it makes. Okay. Now, range function excludes the last digit or number. We'll practicalize this so all of us will get a feel to this. Now, look at this little example we have. Now, we declared a variable. Okay, I'm connected to a runtime. We declared a variable called rank. Rank is equals to list. Now, when we say rank is equals to list, we call the range function here. And we say range 1, 11. Now, this is a simple range without a step. Okay. 1 here is the start point. 11 here is the end point. Now, range excludes the last number 11, which means it prints the number before 11. At the 11th number, it stops running. It stops running. Now, this is just a simple program using the range. Now, what we are trying to do is that we are creating a list of range numbers 1 to 11. We tell the programming generate figures from number 1 to 11 and convert it to a list. Okay, so we are going to learn what a list is as we move on to the class. So that's just what this line of code is. And when you print it, when you print rank, it prints out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now let me run this so that you see this what it prints. On the screen, you can see that it omitted the number 11. Number 11 is not present in this list. Okay, rather it is just 10. So it omits the last digit. All right, now this is a simple list. Now we can give it we can change the range if you want to. You can say, okay, start from 2 You can say start from 2 and run it. Now when you say 2, it starts from 2 and ends at 10. If I put here now, okay, maybe, oh, it's 10. Okay, let me change this to 10. If I run it, it's going to start from 2 and end at 9, omitting the last digit 10. Now, if I want to see the last digit 10, all I have to do is put it as 11. If I want to see the last digit 11, all I have to do is increase it to 12. So that at the 12th step, it's going to stop the code. That's the essence of this range. You can start from 1, create a sequence of numbers. You can start from 0, create a sequence of numbers. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3 to 11. It does not print 12 like I was saying. So it excludes the last digit on number. Now, this is a simple range using the reciprocal range function without a step. Now, let's use a range function that has a step. All right. Now, when you are using the range function, you see 2 digits in between the parentheses. It means there's no step. But when you are seeing 3 digits here, it means there's a step. Okay. 1 is the start, 20 is the end, while 3 is the step. 3 simply means jump by 3 values. Jump by 3 values. So when you print 1, jump the next value and print the third one after jumping. Okay. What it simply means is when you print the first one, add 3 to it by jumping. You get me? 3 plus 1 will be 4. 4 plus 1 will be 7. Sorry, 3 plus 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 plus 3 is 7. 7 plus 3 is 10. So you are jumping, you are like adding the step to the recent generated number. That's how it jumps. Jumps in threes. You can say jump in 2, jump in 1, jump in 5. It depends. Like if you are printing odd or even numbers now, we might tell you generate a sequence of even numbers for me. This is a way to generate it. Okay, by starting bringing a start value and jumping in 2s. If it's odd numbers, jumping in 3s, you get what you want. Now this is how a step works. So let's say this is step 3, a rank. Let me put this as rank 1. Sorry, rank 1, so that it does not omit our first variable rank. Now rank says we told the program to generate a range of numbers from 1 to 20 by using a step 3 and convert it to a list. Now, when you print this, when you run this, when you print rank 1, look at your answer. 1, 4, 7, 10, 13, 16, 19. It omits the last digit 20. Okay. Now, this simply is a step of 3. Now, let's put it as a step of 2. As a step of 2. Now, this is a step of 2. I've generated odd numbers by starting with 1. This is a step of 2. Okay. So tell the program start from 1, print the next number, but step it by 2. Jump 2 digits. After 1, jump it. So it's just like you're adding 2 to 1 to get 3. 3 plus 2, 5. 5 plus 2, 7. 7 plus 2, 9. So you're jumping in 2s. Okay. Now, if I want to generate even numbers now from this point, I can just put here as, now these are odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. I can just put here as 2 as even numbers. Then I'm going to run this. When I run this, it gives me 2, 4, 6, 8 to 18. So this is even numbers jumping in 2s. So that's how we include a step in range. Okay, guys. Now, this is also the same thing. Now, on this case, from this first example we are seeing, you can declare a range without a start value. You can also declare a range without a start value. Now, here you are seeing now, this first line of code highlighted does not have any start value. Okay, it doesn't have a start value. All right. Now, when you declare a range like this, say range 15, that means generates a sequence of numbers from 0 to 15. Like in your introduction to this class, we told you that numbers, integers runs from 0 as whole numbers to the likes, to whichever range, whichever limit you want. Programming is done in numbers in programming is written from 0. It's not from 1. Okay, number system starts from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But the programming number system starts from 0. That's why in your calculator, in your phone number, in your phone digits, or you're pressing your password, there's always 0. In the number keyboard, there's 0. So a combination of 1 and 0 gives you 10. So you only have 0 to 9. Every other numbers you have to whatever infinity are a combination and repetition of these numbers. Okay, most of these numbers were generated using range. So that's why the first line of code does not have a start point. That simply tells the program that start from 0. If you want a start point, just specify it and put a comma. Okay, so what you need is the end point, which is the first line of code. That's why we have this rank. So I'll name this as rank 3. I'll name this as rank 4. Now, this rank 4 is the same as the ones we've been doing before. Okay, so I'm going to print rank 3. I'm going to print rank 4. Rank 3 is using a range without a start point. Rank 4 is using a range with a start point. So let me run this. You can see 0 to 1 to 2 to 14. Why this range? 4 simply starts from 1 because we started by putting 1 in the bracket, then a comma and 15. So when you are declaring a range, you don't necessarily need to put the start number unless you want it to start at that particular position. Sorry, guys. I have to mute my mic. Apologies, guys, for that. Let's continue the class. Now, you only specify a start point when you want to start at that particular position, at that particular number. Otherwise, you don't necessarily need it. Okay. But just know that when you don't put a start point, your number is going to start printing from 0. All right. So it gets to the end point, which is specified. That's why we have these two differences. They are the same sequence of numbers, but one is higher by having a 0. 0 is a number in programming. Is a number. Even on your computer system, your phones, it is a number. All right. The primary way we learned number system by using 1, 2, 3 does not work here. Number system begins from 0 in programming, in any programming. Okay. It also applies also in Python. So let's proceed. Now, this range is used. Okay. We can, like we did examples we've learned now, is using the range, converting it to a list, just plainly. Now, the next step is we can include range in loops, in for loops, basically. All right. Now, the for loop we have, which brings us to the next topic, for loops. All right. This is using a range in for loops. Now, what the for loop permits you to do is this. You can use for loop. You declare variables. You don't need to actually use the equal sign here we have to assign. This is a plain assignment operator like we are doing. But in the for loop, we necessarily don't need to do it unless it's required based on what the activity are trying to perform. Now, this is range in a for loop. For loop, for F-O-R, simply means for loop, okay? Which is this. Now, it simply tells the program that for number 9 is a variable. Number 9 is a variable. Variable, look at it, variable. Variable, number, int. For number in range 5, that means you are telling the program to generate a sequence of numbers beginning from 1 to 5. Beginning from 0 to 5, sorry. because there's no start point. Beginning from 0 to what? 5. So I tell it for number, create a variable called numbers and use a range to generate this sequence of numbers and be printing them one by one. So when it gets to the first number, it prints. It gets to the second number, it prints till it gets to the stop point. That's what we have here. For number in range, then 5, which means the length of the number we want, starting from 0, print number. Now, in your class, last class, you were told to always watch out for indentations. It is very, very important and necessary in programming. Simply tells you that this particular line of code is under this place. Now look at the for. When we created for number in range, there's a colon because we are working with iterations. When you're working with iterations, control flows, you must include this colon. Okay, mostly when you want to specify tasks that are to be performed under these iterations or controls, you must specify and use a colon, which now creates the allows you to create the functions or activities to be carried out when this particular iteration is run. It tells the program this particular place, like what you are seeing here now. It tells the program that this print must be run under this for. Simple. So for number in range 5, print number. So what the program will do is when it gets to the first number 0, it assigns this to number and prints it. Then the next, it goes to the next number 1, it assigns this to number and print it. Also till you get to what? 4. And when it gets to number 5, it stops the program. So let's run it. That's why you see 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Following this line of code. Are we together, guys? Now let's include a start point here. So let's include the start point 1,5. Let's run it. You can see it started from 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's include a step. So we have the start, the stop. Let's include the step of 2. A step of 2. Now look at it. Start, stop, and step of 2. So let's do a step of 2. Look at it. 1 and 3. Are we together? Let me increase this number to 20. Let me put it in 20 so you see it. So because of the step of 2, it is 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 10, 11, 13 till 19. Let me also change the start point to 2 so that it will look like what we did in the first place. Look at it. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. So this is how to include steps in the range, using the range plainly or using it in for loop. Okay, guys. Now, for loop improper. Now, this program, this code we have executes a counter loop. All right, it executes a counter loop. Now, like I explained on this first line of code, when the program gets to the first range, it assigns this to number and prints it out. It now repeats the step again. That's why we call it iterations. It does not, after printing the first line, it does not stop. Okay, it does not stop. It goes back and rerun the program. Okay, it goes back until it gets to this stop point. This is how to use print to stop a loop. Okay, till it gets to the last digit until it stops. That's what we call it iteration. It must repeat itself over and over till it gets to the stop digit, the stop point or stop number. Now, this line of code executes using a counter loop. Now we declared number. We said for number in range 10, that means generate length of 10 numbers beginning from 0. After generating these numbers, when you generate the first number, print the value of number is number. Repeat it again. Value of number is this. Repeat it again. Value of number is this. Repeat it again. The value of number. Till you get to what? 10 and you stop. Okay. So let's run this. Now, this guys, this green line, this line that is green is a comment. So also are these two last ones, they are all comments. Okay, using the hash, they are all comments. So for number in range 10, So the first one is the value of number is 0. That's why you see it's repeating itself, because it is looping. It is iterating over and over and over again until it got to 9. Until it got to 9. That's when it stopped. Okay, guys? Until it gets to 9, that's when it stopped. Okay? Now, you can also include an if statement in your for loop. You can also include an if statement in your for loop. Now, look at this very well. You see this colon. This line of code is under the for loop. This line of code is under the if control flow if. So let me do it so that you see. Now, I'm putting an if in the for loop. Let's run it. You see it stopped. Okay. I said if number is equals to 9. Now, when we printed it without the if statement, it just stopped at number this. Just stopped at this. Number, the value of number is 9. Then we try to include something so that somebody will not say, this loop has ended. Why did it end? I don't understand. It's supposed to be running. Maybe the person is confused. It's supposed to run through 10. I use the if statement to say when the number is 9. Now, this is a relational operator, double equal to, like we learned in the last class. I said if the number, that is whatever is in the variable number, if it's equals to 9, print end of loop. That's what I use the print statement for. Okay, which is here, end of loop. Okay, guys. Now, like I said, watch for, you must put a colon. See, you see this colon is important too. If I remove it, I come down. Let me run it. I will get one error I cannot solve. Look at the line. It's telling me there's an error, expected colon. So it must be present because you are working with controls. Whether for loop, whether you're working with loops, you're working with control flow, you must put this colon and you must indent it properly. After the colon, there's an indentation which shows that this line of code, this one, it is for the if. This print, it is for the for loop. This first print is not for the if, and this last print is not for the for loop. The last print is for the if, the first print is for the for loop. So make sure you watch out for these indentations. Other programming language will be written, when you want to write them now, you now see a curly brace here. You see them put a curly brace here. Yeah. Then they will not write the code. That's how they do it, to do the indentation. For loop with this, they do curly brace. For those of you who are doing programming like C++, Java, and the rest, these are they allow you to do these your indentations. But in programming, you can just write it plainly like this, and in Python, you can write it plainly like this and then indent it properly. Okay. Now, that's how to include an if. You can also input an if else in a for loop. Okay, guys. You can also put an if else in a for loop. So let me comment this because I don't want it to run again. And I'll run it and stop at this. Okay. Now, so also we can use loop to generate sequence of number by including range. We can loop through a sequence of letters. We can loop through letters. Okay, guys. We can loop through letters. All right. Now we can loop through string. That's what I mean by letters, through strings. Treat them one after the other. Now look at the example we have here. We declared a variable, a string variable, and assigned the string fruit into it. Then we called the for function. We said for letter. Now letter here is a variable. It's a new variable we are declaring. Okay. I can change this from letter. I can say from word. Doesn't necessarily mean I must write letter. All right. So let me put this as from word. It is just a variable I'm declaring in the first statement. From word in name. Now, what is in name? Name is fruits. Fruits. It is a what? Fruits. That's what name contains. So I'm not actually saying from name. I'm saying from word in fruits. print word, because when I'm changing, I must change this. Print word. All right. Print word. Now, this one you are seeing, end is equals to double colon. Let me remove it so that you understand why I'm putting it. Let me just remove it first. Now, for name in fruits, for word in name, name is equals to fruit. For word in name, print word. Let me run it so that you see why I did. Now, you see the way he printed it. Fruit F. He printed first because he picked first F, the first letter. He picked it and assigned it to word and printed it. He went to the second number. I picked it, assigned it to word, printed it. Arrow. He went to the third number U, assigned it to word, print U. Still, he got to S, assigned it to word, and printed S. Now he's printing them one line after the other. Next line, next line, next line. That was how it's going to print. Okay. Now, the essence of me putting end, comma, end is equals to colon. The reason for me putting this is to make sure it does not print like this vertically but horizontal, so that it's going to look like the fruits in string. Are we together, guys? Are we together? Let me show you the difference I'm saying. Let me just print. Let me first of all print name here. Let me print name. Let me remove this one. Okay, let me run it. Now, this fruit you are seeing, this first one is this print. I'm printing this. Okay. Now, the for loop, because I'm using for loop, I'm splitting the fruits in this format. Okay. Now I want the fruit to be like this one when you print it. That was why I included the end. That's why I created and I said end with a space. End with a space and assign each letters after and end it with a space, not with a next line. Okay, that means bring the cursor at the front of the letter, not at the next line. That's what I'm telling it to do. So when I run this now, it's going to print them fruits, looking like they are the same. Are we together? That's the essence of me using this end is equals to a colon. It means it's a space. Let me include a space. Now see. Now I'm expanding the space because I put a space inside the colon. Don't forget that anything inside a colon is a string. If I print it, see, it's going to include the space bigger. If I increase the space and I print it, it's going to print the space, make it bigger. Okay. So in order for it to look like the first letter, I just need to leave it as this. Okay, I don't need to put any space in between, just put the colon. When I print it, it's going to print fruits. Okay, guys, that's how we use the for loop to loop through string. We can also loop through a sentence, which is this. Okay, we can also loop through a sentence. You can also loop through a sentence. So let's loop through a sentence. So a sentence is equals to how are you doing today? So I'm going to say for no, I don't want to use. Let me use a forward in sentence. Let me remove this. Forward is sentence. Forward is sentence. Print word. Let me run this. Now, when I print this, I'm going to see how are you doing today? It's printing it vertically. So if I don't want it to print vertically, I'll just come and say end to be equal to, I put my column and then I run this. When you run this, it's printing how are you doing today? Okay, I'm printing this to be looking the same. So that's the essence of this end. Okay, guys. Now, another way we can also do through a sentence is by splitting the sentence. Now, this sentence we can split it by separating the letters, the words in group. How, separate are, separate you, separate doing today. You can separate them. Okay? You can separate them one after the other. All right, guys. That was what we did here. Now, in this next line of code, we included the range. Included the range. Okay. Now, don't forget that we've already declared a sentence, which is this. How are you doing today? Which is this. So we can call it on the next line. That's why you're seeing it here. I'm not putting it here. I'm not repeating this here because it's already up. And once I've run this, I can continue with the code even without rewriting it because I've already run it. It's already saved. So now, no, I'm going to go to name error, sentence ID. Okay. Sorry, guys, I'm coming. To comment like this, supposed to comment. Thank God, I'm back. So now in this next line of code, I caught sentence. Now don't forget that we already have sentence here. So I can just mean this sentence one. I can say sentence one. So that will not be confusing anybody. I can say sentence one. Now, sentence one is equals to sentence don't split, which is this how are you doing today? I'm telling the program to split it with a space. Split it with a space. Okay. Split each with a space. Now, if I'm splitting this with a space, this is what is going to happen. Let me comment this and let me print sentence one. Let me print sentence one. Oh, sorry. I'm going to remove this. So let me print sentence one so that you guys will see what's going to happen. Oh, sorry, guys. Let me run this again. So let me print sentence one. Look at what I'm doing. I'm separating it with what? I'm separating them. I'm making them singular. Now, this is just me converting this letter we have. Because when you split, it's going to split and convert it to a list. Okay. This was the sentence we did. How are you today? This is a string combined together, assigned to sentence. So I decided to split them separately. Sprint R is a different string, then R is a different string, U is a different string, doing is a different string, today is a different string. That's what the split does. And I splitted by space. And when you split by space, the program automatically shares them into two. That's why we are having, I just want to show you how it's going to be appearing. That's why we're having how are you doing today? That's why we have this. Now this is a list now. Okay. This is a list. All right. So in the previous sentence, it was combined. This is just a string assigned to a variable sentence. Why this is what we call a list. Don't worry, you understand fully well what a list is on the next class. Okay. We're going to explain them well. All right. So don't get confused. Just follow along and understand how to use loops. Okay. You can look through a list, through a dictionary, through whatever. These are different data structure, two different data types. You can look through them. So I'm just showing you what the split does. Okay. Now, the next thing we did here, I said new sentence is equals to colon. Let me uncomment this. So I said new sentence is equals to, now, yeah, I splitted this space. So I said new sentence now is equals to a colon. That means one single line spacing. Okay, I didn't put a stab here, so we just colon there, no space. Sorry, guys. So that's why I called this. Then all those line of code is just concatenation and using the for. So I introduced the first statement. I said for ID in range, this ID now, like I said, is a variable. Now I'm including a range here. I said for ID in range, then I said len means length. Len means length. It returns the number of items in a container, number of items in a variable. That's what a container is. Okay. It returns the number of items in a variable. That's what the len does. The function called length, len. So I'm telling it, I said for ID in range length of sentence, instead of putting numbers here, we are using the length of this sentence, which we've already split. So I'm going to use sentence one because the sentence one I split. Okay, not that first one. So I'm going to say sentence one for ID in range of the length of sentence one, which means now listen, here the looping was on each individual letters. Now here I want to loop in words. That was why I splitted it, so that the HOW will be combined as one word instead of single letters, and I will loop in them. So that's what I'm telling it. In range of length of the sentence one, that means length of the list, which is from 0 to the last number. Print the everything. Print ID, print this, print that. That's what I'm telling you to do. So let me loop this, so that let me comment this so that you guys will understand before putting the function. So for ID in range of the letter of sentence one, print ID. ID. Okay, let me run this. Now running this, look at it. I'm printing the ID. Some of you will say, sir, why are we having ID 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 instead of the letters? Yes, we're having 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 because I'm printing the length of the list. Now, this R, because I splitted it, this R is taking the position of 0. That is the number of 0. R is taking the number of 1. U is taking the number of 2. Doing is taking the number of 3. Today is taking the number of 4. That's why we are having 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 here, because these are index numbers assigned to these letters because I splitted them. Okay, if I didn't split them, you'll be having it this way. All right, so that's what I am doing here. So I just wanted to show you. So I'm going to remove this because I don't need this code. Just want to show you what the ID looks like. Now, the next thing I did was include the if statement. I said if sentence, sorry, I'll put this as sentence one. If sentence one ID is equals to R. Oh, sorry. If sentence one ID is equals to, this is a relational operator, is equals to 1, comma, sentence one ID assigned day, new sentence is equals to the new sentence plus a space plus sentence one ID. Let me use that sentence one ID because I've changed it to sentence one instead of sentence. Now listen again. I said if sentence one ID is equals to R, that means a relational operator. I'm checking what the ID of sentence one is. Don't forget, I assigned the length of this sentence as ID. So if sentence one ID, which means the one that is the number here, which is the 0, 1, 2 you are saying, if sentence one ID is equals to R, that means when you call the ID that has the position, the letter R, assign day to sentence one ID. Then create a new sentence that's going to hold the previous sentence plus a space plus the sentence one ID and print it. Let me comment this because I don't need this to be printing again. Now look at the code. How are you doing today? Some of you might be confused. How? This is it. I come again. Hmm? Now, in this first place, I have already declared what we call sentence. This is our sentence, which is a string. This was how we looked through a sentence. How are you doing today? Okay, same way we looked through the fruits, a string. We looked through this. Okay, now this is also a string. All right, this is also a string too. But I want to make it sentences. Now, a sentence is a group of words with meaning. I want to look them. Now, you don't say H is a sentence. No, it's a letter. HOW, which are three letters, form a word. Okay. Now, a sentence is a group of words. I had to group them in words. That is why I had to come down here and split it to group them in words, making HOW to be one word, taking the number 0, the other letters to be one word, taking their individual numbers. Now, if I ask you how many words are in this sentence, you will tell me it is 3, because how is a word, I is a word. So they are taking their own numbers there, beginning from 0 to the last. That was when I assigned this. I said the length of this sentence. Now I use the range to assign the length of this sentence. The 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I assign it to the variable called ID. So ID is now having 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. In this if statement now, I called the sentence 1, which already has this. That's why we are seeing it. 5 items. How they you doing today? That's what it has. Then I said this sentence now and this ID. If the ID position, that's why you are seeing 4 here. If the ID, it has 4 numbers. If the ID now here, it's equals to R. I'm collecting the two of them now. If the ID and the sentence 1 are equal to R, that means pick the ID number, check it in sentence 1. If it's equals to this R, the next thing you are going to do, you pick the next ID number and sentence, and then assign the, okay, and then the next thing you're going to do for me, you said new sentence, which I'm declaring is equals to a new sentence plus space plus sentence ID. That means plus each ID and a sentence. Add it to this space, this new sentence we created. Look at the new sentence here, which is just a blank column, no string, nothing, not a blank string. Carry the ID, add it with the sentence, and then add them with a space and this, and assign everything to a new sentence and print new sentence. So instead of me printing how they doing, instead of me printing it like this, let me remove this end. Instead of me printing it like this, how are you doing today? I can print it like this. How are they doing today? Now, some of you might be saying this. Look at the difference, so don't get confused. This first one we have now is what? How are you doing today? I know somebody will still ask me this question, and I'm going to still explain. Look at this. Look at the sentence. How are you doing today? Now look at this next one. It's not having R. I said when you see R, replace it with they. How are they doing today? Okay, that's what I just did. Instead of the normal, if I remove this now, I will still have, I'm going to have how are you doing today? Okay, I'm going to, oh, sorry, let me run this, and then run this. Why are you not running? New sentence, space, sentence ID 1. Sorry. Oh, I made a mistake here. Let me comment this as well. Now get my answer now. Now look at this. This one is how are you doing today? This one is how are you doing today? Now, because of this line statement, I said if pick the ID now, pick the sentence. If they are the same and they are both equal to R in the word we splitted, change the R and assign it towards they. That's why we have how are they doing today, sort of how are you doing today. Okay, guys. So let me remove this comment and run this. So that's how I changed the values by doing this. Okay. Now this one is also looping through sentence Uh, okay, so don't worry, I'm not going to do these ones. This is also looping through the sentence, through a list. Now, this is you having an if-else statement. Okay, I've explained all these ones. So this is you having an if-else. Now, the first one, last one we did was having an if. This one is you having an if-else statement in your when you are looping through a list. Okay, I'm looping through a list. Now, this is a list of items: iPhone, Samsung, Redmi, Vivo. This is a list of items. So I'm looping through it. All right. So simple is telling me for phone in order chart, which is this other chart here. All right. If the phone in phone book, which is the phone book, if the phone in phone book, that means for phone in order chart, any phone I pick, if the phone, the same phone in the other chart, if the same phone is in phone book, print the phone is available for purchase. That is, print the name of the phone. If it is in both list, print it out. Else, print it is out of stock. That's why we got iPhone is available for purchase, Nokia is out of stock, Vivo is available for purchase, Tecno is out of stock. Because looking when the programming looked through this list, it saw that iPhone and Vivo are in both lists. That's why it's telling it is for purchase. Else, it is telling it is out of stock. All right, so that's what using the if-else statements you guys all did. So you can also look through dictionaries, and we are going to learn about all these dictionaries and lists and the different data structures we have in programming in the next class. So don't jam packed or wound yourself with all these things you are saying. So right about now, I'm going to give some room, some questions while I move down to the next loop we are going to be having or learning today, the while loop. So right now, it's time for questions. If you have any questions, please signify by raising up your hand and I'll call upon you. We have just 15 minutes to do that. Let me give way for you guys to speak. So if you have any questions, raise up your hands based on what you've learned so far. I'm going to attend to your question. First on my list, I'm seeing please, once I end picking questions, I won't attend to any questions. So it's best to raise up your hand and I'll answer your questions. And also keep listening in ears if your questions might have been answered too. So first of all, Kisley, what is your questions? Go ahead.
Okay, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I just have a little of issue. I don't know. I was when you were running the follow program from the beginning. At the first one, I got it, and the rest it was not telling me error, and I was trying to work on it. I just asked to pause to focus on the class. He said the error list object is not callable. That's the error was giving me. The list is not callable object. I don't know.
Which of the loop? Which of the
From the
which where are
beginning,
you?
like
This is the beginning. This is the beginning.
that's where we started with range one equals list. I did that first. But when I try running the range one equals list, range 2, 20, 3, and to just telling me the range is not callable, maybe because of they're just telling me range the list is not callable. That's
The
which
list
I
is
was
not
driving
callable.
since. Yes, the
Did you do it the
said
way
the
I
list
did it?
object is not callable. Same I did. I don't know. So just let me ask, or maybe later I'll study the
What
video
line?
more. I
The
don't know.
list. Hold on. The list object is not callable. What line? It must show you a line. Which line?
It's line one, line
So this is
one.
my line one. This is my line one. Okay. Are your items arranged
Mm,
like mine?
okay, round one equals list orange. Yeah, yes,
Okay.
it is. All right, so just saying
Is this your line one or this is your line one?
this where we have range round one equals list bracket
Yeah.
range.
Yes.
That's the line one. That's the line one.
Okay. You know what you're going to do? In order not to start bothering
Delay.
ourselves with it. Do a screenshot and send it to the group chat now as we speak.
Okay,
Do
sir.
that right now so that I will give you feedback while I take other questions. So, is that your question, Kisley?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you very much. So, please mute your mic. Favor, what's your question? Okay, Favor hands down. The next person. The next person is IOB.
Sorry, I said my question is that how are you doing today? I don't really get that part.
Which part did you get?
The last part of the how are you doing today? The loop.
What didn't you get in the loop? You must. There's something you might have missed. What is it? Tell me so that
The
I'll
part,
think from
the
there.
part that you were changing it to how are they doing today or how they are, that part.
Okay, let me explain that part. Now, I said the list we created was this was the one we created. This is a string. How are you doing today? Is what we created. Looping is the same way it worked. Okay, it worked. How are you doing today? All right. So here now, what I only did here in using the if statement here. Don't get confused. I said it before and I explained it about 3 times. And I said somebody will still ask me a question about this, and I'm still going to explain it. What I did here is just to change the are to they. This is how I did it. I told the program, I said, wherever you see, check for sentence ID, sentence one ID, pick it. If it's equals to R, don't forget it is R that is there. If it's equals to R, take the R, because don't forget that sentence one ID is just a variable name. This ID is a location, which has 0, 1, 2, 3. I showed you guys how this 4 and this len gave it a range 0, 1 to 4. Okay, based on the length of the characters. That's what the range is doing now. Range generates a sequence of numbers for you. All right. So I told you I used the for loop to generate sequence of numbers using the length of sentence one, which is I've already splitted. Okay. Now I told the program that if the ID which you have generated a range number and the sentence are equal to R, that means the position it has. The sentence one now, if there's R in it, pick the number which you have already done with the range, pick it R, and then take D and assign it. This is an assignment now. This is a variable. This is an assignment operator. This is a relational operator. This one compares two values if they are the same. Why this one assigns a new value? That's why I told you. I said if you are assigning if you're using two variables, you know the reason why I changed this to sentence one, because it was sentence that was there. I changed it to sentence one because I don't want to disturb this sentence here so that you guys will get confused. That's why I changed the new variable sentence one. They are not the same thing. If I had used sentence here now, and I'm doing all those corrections, it's going to replace everything that is here. If after printing this one now today, if you come here, this will be changed today. When I print sentence, it's going to be changed. That's why I said sentence one, so that you won't be confused. So I said, wherever you see R in the sentence, remove the R and put the. That's what I did because I'm using the same variable name. It replaces values. If I'm using one variable name to perform different operations, the values will be changing. That's why they say it is mutable. Okay, rules for naming variable. It is mutable. Variables are mutable. Values can change. If you use one variable to assign multiple values, it's going to change and take the last one. Okay, this was properly explained at your first class on introduction to variables. So that's what I did with the if statement here. Okay, I told it locate where you see R and put they in it by using the relational operator and the assignment operator. I did not change the variable name, they're both the same variable. Okay, that's why I changed it. Then this next line of code now, I'm just combining everything together by putting a space in between. I said new sentence is this, is already a space. I said new sentence, add the space to the new sentence again, then add each and every word in this sentence ID. Is that understood?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. So the next person on my list is IOB. What's your question?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
You don't have to ask. You can notice from the beginning of the class when we did this listing, it
Okay.
went horizontal direction. When we did
Okay.
the for loop, it was vertical.
Okay.
Like is there a difference outside the being vertical and horizontal?
All right. So I'm not supposed to answer your question because you came late to class, but I will do you that favor. All right. Now, I just
So
when
I
you
didn't.
printed, are you listening to me? Is that your question?
No, no, I have like two of them.
Oh yeah, ask the other two questions before I answer anyone.
Um, the other question is I don't understand the difference between these curly braces, straight bracket, and the other bracket.
Okay. Okay. What's your third question?
Function of it. Just, just the fact.
Just those two. All right. So for the curly braces, go back to the recording of our previous class when we told you how to use the print function. That's why you have curly braces inside the print. Okay. The F string, study about the F string format and the curly brace. We are going to see how it is being positioned. I don't want to start changing my notebook to that. I've already covered that in our previous class. Okay. Is a way we format a string. All right. That's why you're seeing it there. Print F string, the value of number is, I'm calling the variable name. Rather than separating it in comma, I'm calling the name. Okay. That's what I'm doing here. In the other ones we are doing, you're just doing print. We're not putting any string inside. This one, I'm putting some strings and I need to format it. I use the F string, which means format. Okay. So we had a class that covers this. How to use you were in that class. I know very well you were there. You won't ask the question. So you should understand how to use this. If you don't understand how to use the curly brace, you can remove it and put it after the colon. Put a comma. Let me show you what I mean. Okay. You can come simply and take this one off. Put this number and put it here. Put a comma and then put your number. I believe you understand this one.
Yes, yes, I get that.
Good. So this is, if you can't do it that way, do it this way. The only way this one will work inside this, I'm only putting this inside the quotation mark, not outside the quotation mark, and there's no comma. It gives you the same thing, okay? But I'm only putting it inside. The programming knows how to separate them. But in order for it to work, I need to use the format string. Okay, this is one of it. This is just the plain way to use the print, and the other one is using the format string like this. That's the essence of this curly brace you are seeing. I'm just using this curly brace to, in place of that comma outside, to separate this. But this F string must be there because without this format, this F9 is a function, no, meaning format. Without it, this return to a string. That's why it must be there. So for that, sorry, you can just go back to the previous class we had about variables and you still understand how to use the print function. Now for your question that you're saying vertical and horizontal, if there's any difference. Now your arrangement matters and what the output in matters. Now this is a vertical print. When you're using the for loop, it prints to the next line. After when it prints a one value, it goes to the next line. That's what it does plainly. But I don't want it to print showing like this, okay, vertically. I want it to be straight line, horizontal. What I did was simply inside the print statement, I include an end. I said I'm telling the program to end with a space. That's how I used to, instead of it ending with the next line, because automatically it's going to end with the next line without this. I'm telling it to end with what? A space. End is equals to a space. Now when I run it, I'm going to have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 to 18. So all I have to do is come in and increase the space. Okay, it's going to print 2, 4, 6, 8. Are you seeing the difference? Are you seeing the difference? So that was how I used to
Yes, I can.
print it horizontally. Okay. Oh, sorry, I'm cleaning my work. All right. So the next question I have is the next person is Asemota. Asemota was the question. Asemota, what's your question? Do you have a question? Okay, there's no question from Asemota. So I think I have to continue with my class. Meanwhile, okay, thank you. It has been answered. All right, so the attendance is on the chat. So you can go and fill your attendance, and also please pay attention. Don't tell me because you're filling attendance, you didn't listen to the class. Fill it and go back to the class. So that ends my questions for this section. Let's move on with the class.
Sir, I dropped the
Yes.
screenshot group. Oh.
All right, I'll okay, sorry, I'm on it. Okay, it's telling you type error. That's what your question is. Sorry, Mr. Emmanuel, I can't take your question because I specifically told everybody to raise their hand and you didn't. So I'm not taking your questions. Keep it to the end of the class. Thank you very much. Mr. Kingsley, I'm going to give a feedback to your errors, but I believe aside from this, other codes are working fine, right? So I'm going to give be on the group. I'm going to send the I'm going to send what you did, so you're going to get it properly. Now, for the first one that you are printing, you're using rank 1 to do almost everything you are doing. You're using rank 1 to do almost everything you are doing. So correct it, okay? Change your print statement, and it's going to work fine for you. All right, and run your previous code. Run your previous code before you got to that point. It's going to run fine for you. But I'll also give you feedback on the group chat after the class. So let's continue. Now the next thing we're going to learn is the while loop. Now the while loop is simple and straightforward. It works like the for loop, but the while loop can be used to run infinitely. Okay, now the while loop checks if a condition is true before executing a code. It works like the if statement, but the if statement is not a loop, rather is a control using a conditional way of thinking. But the while loop simply checks if this condition is true before it starts working. Okay, that's the essence of a while loop. It checks if this condition is true and start working. All right, now once it checks if this condition is true, it keeps on going until it gets to the stop point. Now from here we can see an example. X is equals to 1. X is a variable, assign the value of 1. Then we gave it the condition. We said while X is less than 10, meaning while 1 is less than 10, print X, print the value of X. What this program is going to do is that looking at X equals to 1, is going to say, okay, while 1, put 1 here. While 1 is less than 10, print the value of X, which is 1. Then this next one, X plus equals to 1, we learned it, incrementation, in our last class. It means add 1 to the previous value of X and go back to the program again. So when I run this, I'm going to be printing, it's going to be print 1, 2, 3 to the end, because it is repeating itself. Now it stopped at 9 because don't forget, iteration does not print the last value. It stops at the value before that last value, which is part of the code. That's why we are having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If I put here as 0, if I put here as 0, it's going to do from 0 to 9. That's the essence of the while loop. It must check if this condition is true first before it keeps on working. Now, if I want to do an infinite loop, it's easy here. Okay, it's easy here. Now, but we don't advise infinite loop here. Let me say if y, let me put y is equals to 11. Y is greater than 10. Keep on looping. Now, if I run this, it's going to be looping continuously. It will not stop. Look at the values, it's still increasing. It will not stop. If you scroll down, look at it, it is still increasing. Look at it, it is still increasing. This is an infinite loop. It will not stop until I go and stop it. That's why we don't advise infinite loops. It can go crash your PC if you're not careful. It's until I stop it that's going to stop. It keeps on running. That's what I mean by infinite loop. So we don't advise infinite loops in programming. Okay, we limit your looping to a specific time frame or specific code. So let me stop it so that I won't go and overload my program. So I've stopped it. This, you can see the number is generated. The last number was 204,556. Look at the previous number. If I want to see everything, I start scrolling up, beginning from 11. So very long number. This is an infinite loop. So don't make that mistake. I say, sir, my loop is doing this, is doing that. Don't make that mistake, please. So that's the essence of a while loop. So now, make sure when you are doing your using your relational operator, you make sure your values are correct, and whatever you are relating to must work correctly too. If I do y x equals to 1, I said if I say x is equals to 1, then the next thing I'm saying is y x is greater than 10, be printing. I'm going to have nothing. As you can see, it's telling me nothing, 0, because there's nothing here to work on. Because x is not even greater than 10. So it cannot even perform any action. That's why I said when the condition is true, that's when it performs the next line of code. If it's not true, it will not even perform anything. Okay, that's why we have this now. It did not print anything because this first condition was not met. X is not greater than 10. Rather, it was less than. So that's why we have a less than symbol here. And when you run this, it's going to run from 1 to 10. Okay, guys. So now the same question you asked me, what's the difference between vertical and horizontal? If I wanted to print horizontal, I just have to put end is equals to this. So when I print it, it's going to come out as this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If I need space, I'll just come to the quote and put space. Okay, it's going to print like this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, guys, so that's the essence of it. Then you can also use it to print characters in string, which is this. So what this code is simply telling us that now the first one was to generate numbers. Now this one is simply telling the program that x is equals to 1. While 1 is less than 10, we are not telling it to print x, we're telling it to print this symbol at. That's why you're seeing at here. It's not x that we told you to print. Then we said print at and multiply it by the value of what? X. Print at multiplied by the value of x. That's why we have a. I'm just doing some arrangements here. Okay, so I've talked about infinite loops, so I don't think I'll have to teach what infinite loop is here. Okay, so we can also do use while loop on a list. Okay, also use while loop on a list. Like here we have my list is equals to yes, no, why, who, when. Then we created a variable called counter and assigned the value of 0 to it. Now this is similar to the ID we did, but this is a different approach. We use counter. Now counter has the number of 0. So we are now using the relational operator saying why the counter is less than the length of this list. Why the counter 0 is less than this. Print what? my list, print the list with the counter following each other, which is this. Then increment the counter. Instead of us incrementing X, we are incrementing the counter because you can only increment what has integers. You cannot increment list. That's why we have this here. Okay. That's the essence of using this with a counter. Okay. So you can loop through many things. You can loop through a list, through a dictionary, through numbers. You can generate numbers with range. You can use the for loop, include the if statement and the likes within this. Okay, guys. So it's as plain as simple as that. You can also even include the if statement in the while chart and include it. Please mute your mic. Please mute your mics. Let me off it for everybody. So you can also even include the if statement in the while loop. Okay, you can do that as well. All right. So okay, this is the same thing we did in the if statement. See, it's the same thing we did in the if statement that we did here in the while loop as well. Okay. So that's all, guys, for our loops, the if, the for and while loops, using both the if and the if else statements. So at this junction, I'm going to give room for any questions based on this, so that we'll call it a night for the class. So questions, if you have any questions based on this, raise up your hand and I will attend to you. Any question, guys? All right, Mr. Emmanuel, what's your question? Let me open your mic. What's your question?
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, the first question I want to ask is concerning that range. You only talk about counting from 0 upwards. What if we want to make a range from a negative value, like let's say -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, like that?
You can do it. Just include your start value.
Yeah, I did that. It did not include 0 when it was counting. It
Because
just
you
went
did
from
this step.
-2, -1, 1.
-2, -1, 1.
Yes.
What is how will I even put it now? You said -2, -1, 1. Okay, you did not include 0. Now,
Yes. No,
I
I did
told
not.
you you are iterating. Okay, you are repeating a step, you are printing. All right. Now,
Okay.
whatever you do, program is not stupid to tell you why zero plus any number, is it not that same name number?
Where's the
Huh?
number? Yeah.
Are you with me?
Yes, I'm with you, sir.
What is 0 plus -1?
-1.
Good. All right. So 0 plus 1 is 1. Yes. So that's why it did not include the 0. It's not printing. Listen, it's not printing numbers for you. It is incrementing why it's iterating. So that's why you don't have 0 in your list. Okay.
Yes, sir.
That's why you don't have 0 in your list. So you can trace some negative number, but 0 plus that and any number is still that same number. 0 does not have any value. But it can start from 0 if you want it to start from 0. Okay. If you do -5 plus -1, it will give you -4. -4 plus -1, it give you -3. That's what it's doing. That's what it's doing. That's what it's doing. Until it gets to 1. -1 plus -1 is give you 0. But 0 is no number because 0 plus 1 is what? 1.
1.
So 0 will go. So now 1 plus 1, 1 plus 2, that's what you have.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Right. So Ismail, what's your question? Please, at this point, let me stop the recording for today's class. Let me stop it. I think. Abiodun Ismail, what's your question? Okay, Ismail, you don't have a question, so I'm going to drop your hand. Thank you. Any other question from any angle, guys?
So you said you will reply me on that my syntax, my uncallable number.
I told you to go and run your. I said you should run your code. Run your code from the beginning. Okay.
Oh, okay, sir. I think I will just take it to another notebook and try it.
See, when you are doing that, can you hear me? I've answered that question. Okay, that's why I used rank 1, rank 2, rank 3.
I'm just having some network issue. The thing is breaking. I'll try and work on it.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you, sir.
Okay, I said change your variable names. You are using one variable name all through your codes. Mine, I didn't. That's why I asked you, I did the same thing. You said yes. I used rank 1, rank 2, rank 3. I didn't use rank 1 all through. So that's where you're having your challenge, because the rank 1 you created is already a list. So you're not supposed to be calling it. It will not work. Look at my code. I made sure I reduced it to its bare minimum by using different variable names. That will solve your problem. You don't need to take it to a new notebook. You already have rank, so the next thing is rank 1, rank 2, rank 3. Simple as that. Okay.
It's like I said, sir. When I did it the first time, it worked. That first one in particular worked. Now it's not even working. So I'm trying to work on that one first, so I cannot continue with the other rank 1, rank 2.
All right. See what you're going to do, huh?
And,
Okay. Don't beat yourself up. What you're going to do is change your variable names. Use different variable names. I told you guys, make sure you limit your repetition of variable names. It is not the same. It is not the same. Okay. If you are using
now
one
the
variable
first
name for everything, it's going to affect what you are doing. It's going to affect it big time. That's why you're having that issue. I know we've not learned how to tackle codes or errors. I've not learned that. Okay, so it's going to affect you until you learn how to do that. Okay.
Okay, sir. So this is the first line of code where I have rank equals to list, then range 1 and 11 bracket close, then print range,
Yes.
and it's still giving me error. It's still giving me a list object is not callable.
See, I'm going back through your. Sorry, guys, my PC went off network, so I'm just returning to my phone. Now, looking at your code, looking at your code, okay. The first one ran with a rank. This is your rank, this and that. Now you are creating a new one, rank 1 is equals to list. You are calling a range of 1 to 11. You are printing rank.
Not range.
Yeah, you are printing rank, not rank 1. You are not looking at your code. Okay, listen, you know what you're going to do for me, and to ease it for you, click on where you have explain error. It's going to explain what your errors you're having. If the error still persists, put it on the group chat that, oh, my error is still there, because I think it's only you that's having that error. If you did exactly what I did in class, you won't be having such error, because I made sure I took that care of not repeating or mistaking my variable names.
It's not that even. It's not even what I'm saying. Is that it's not even repeating the name. The first very. I've not. Okay, let's just say I've not even put any other. That's the very first step. That's what I'm talking about. It worked before, but when I now added the other ones, when I came back to run it again, everything. So I will just
Run from the beginning. Do it in a new
easy.
notebook and try it again. Run from the beginning and make sure your runtime is connected. You can also disconnect and reconnect your runtime. Is that clear?
Okay, sir. I'll take my
You can
time.
also do that.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
All
I'll
right,
work
you're
on it.
welcome. Okay. So guys, please let's fill our attendances on the group chat, and I'm going to use the few minutes we have to make sure this attendance is filled, and when the class terminates, the attendance stops. That's by 10 o'clock. So you can go ahead and fill your attendances while the class is still on. So any questions? Any question on what we've done so far? There's still room for questions, please. You still have room for questions, guys. Any questions so far? You can free to unmute your mic and ask your question.
Hello, good evening. Please, can we have the attendance link
Good.
again? Some of us, our network has been
Attendance is
going
on the
on
group
and
chat.
off. So when we rejoin, like for me, once I rejoin, it's no longer, all the other chats are no longer showing again. So can it be pasted again? Thank you.
Can you have you checked the pinned message? Because me, I joined with another device and I can still see that pinned message.
Sorry, how do I?
Let me send it again. Let me send it again, okay?
Okay, okay, thank you.
So I've sent it again. So go ahead and fill it. Okay, guys, if there's no other questions to be answered, that's all for today's lectures. So do have a wonderful night's rest, and you can exit the class peacefully after filling your attendance. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Bye-bye.